Judge Marcus Ellison sat frozen in his sedan, his hand still firmly gripping the steering wheel. The flashing red and blue lights from the patrol vehicle behind him painted the quiet, empty street in chaotic color. He had pulled over as soon as he saw the sirens, confused but calm. Now, standing outside his car, a young police officer in a stiff Navy uniform had one hand resting on his holster and the other holding a flashlight, its beam blinding Marcus as it hit his face. "I said step out," the officer barked again. Marcus sighed quietly and reached slowly for the door handle. "Officer, I don't want to hear it," the officer snapped. "Hand where I can see them." The street was quiet, but the tension in the air was thick, like the heavy silence before a violent thunderstorm. Marcus moved slowly, carefully. His 56 years of life had taught him that sudden movements could get a black man killed in America. He had seen situations like this before, read about them in the morning paper, presided over cases in courtrooms. But he had never imagined that one day it would be him ordered out of his own car. The officer's name tag read Officer Noah Palmer. Young, barely out of the police academy, Marcus thought. Palmer's posture was stiff, his stance aggressive, his narrowed eyes filled with an authority he hadn't earned. "I'm Judge Marcus Ellison," Marcus said, his voice calm but firm. "You're making a mist." "I don't care if you're the Pope," Palmer cut him off. "License and registration." Now, Marcus clenched his jaw. The disrespect was staggering, but something told him this was about to get worse. Palmer took a step closer, his fingers drumming along the grip of his holstered gun. "Are you refusing an order, sir?" Marcus recognized that tone immediately. It was the sound of a man itching for an excuse. And then, just as he was about to reach for his wallet, it happened. Palmer lunged, grabbing Marcus by the arm and yanking him from the vehicle. Marcus stumbled, his knees slamming hard against the cold pavement as Palmer shoved him down. Pain shot through his leg, but before he could protest, cold steel cuffs bit into his wrists. "You're under arrest," Palmer said smugly. Marcus's head snapped up, his eyes burning with disbelief. "For what?" "For resisting a police officer." The absurdity of the words was suffocating. Marcus's chest tightened. The street was empty. No witnesses. No cameras. Just a young cop who believed he was untouchable. But what Officer Palmer didn't realize, what he was about to learn in the most shocking way possible, was that Marcus Ellison wasn't just any black man. He was the most powerful judge in the city. And as Marcus lay on the pavement, something inside him hardened. This wasn't going to end the way Officer Palmer thought it would. Earlier that day, it had been an ordinary day. Judge Marcus Ellison had spent his morning presiding over a high-profile case. As one of the few black judges in the state, his presence in the courtroom carried enormous weight. His reputation for fairness and wisdom was well-earned. At 56, he had seen all: justice, injustice, and the gray space in between. He knew his position came with a burden he had worked twice as hard to earn. That evening, after a grueling day in court, Marcus was eager to get home. His wife, Clara, had made his favorite dinner. Their granddaughter, Sophie, was visiting for the weekend. He was thinking about how Sophie's laughter always made his house feel alive again. Then came the flashing lights in his rearview mirror. At first, he thought it had nothing to do with him. He wasn't speeding. He hadn't broken any laws. But the sirens didn't pass him. They stayed behind him, following him. His stomach knotted. He knew the rules. Hands visible. No sudden movements. Calm voice. Marcus slowed and pulled his car to the curb. The patrol car screeched to a halt behind him. Its door swung open. Officer Noah Palmer stormed out, posture rigid, his hand hovering near his gun like it was an extension of himself. Marcus lowered his window. "Good evening, officer. Is there a problem?" Palmer narrowed his eyes. "License and registration. No greeting. No explanation. Just a demand." Marcus moved slowly toward the glove compartment. "May I ask why I'm being stopped?" "License and registration," Palmer repeated louder. A knot formed deep in Marcus's stomach. Something about this wasn't right. Palmer wasn't just cautious. He was eager. Aggressive. Marcus handed over his documents, his voice even. Here you go. Palmer snatched them from his hand without a word. His eyes flicked over the name. Marcus Ellison, Palmer muttered. That's funny. You some kind of judge or something? Marcus's lips thinned. Yes. Palmer chuckled, a slow, mocking sound. Well, Judge Ellison, let's see if that means anything to me. The tension in the air grew heavier. Marcus could feel it. Step out of the car, Palmer ordered. Marcus's pulse quickened. This wasn't standard procedure. Officer, he said carefully, I've done nothing wrong. Can you tell me why I need to step out? Because I said so, Palmer snapped. And just like that, everything spiraled out of control. The arrest. Palmer grabbed Marcus, yanking him out of the vehicle and forcing him to the ground. His knee scraped the pavement, sending a fresh spike of pain through his leg. Cold cuffs clamped around his wrists. For resisting a police officer, Palmer said, smug as he locked the cuffs. Marcus lay there, breath steady, even as his heart thundered in his chest. His mind raced, but he forced himself to remain calm. This wasn't over. Palmer hauled him to his feet and shoved him toward the squad car. You can explain yourself at the station, he said with a smirk. If anyone actually cares. Marcus didn't answer. He had dealt with men like Palmer before. Men who thought their badge made them untouchable. Palmer shoved him into the back seat and slammed the door shut. The car sped toward the station. Then the radio crackled. Unit 47, status update. Palmer picked up the mic. Male suspect in custody. Transporting now. Name. Palmer smirked at Marcus in the mirror. Marcus Ellison. There was a long pause on the other end. Repeat that. I said, Marcus Ellison. The voice on the other end exploded. Are you out of your damn mind? Palmer flinched. What? You just arrested Judge Marcus Ellison. Do you have any idea what you've done? Turn that car around. Now. Palmer's face went pale. His hands trembled on the wheel. I was just following protocol, he stammered. That wasn't protocol, you idiot, the dispatcher yelled. You just put the department in the middle of a lawsuit we can't afford. Do you realize how bad this looks? Palmer's breathing grew uneven. For the first time, he was scared. Marcus watched him from the back seat, silent, letting Palmer sweat. The aftermath. Palmer pulled over on a quiet side street. He rushed out of the car, yanked the back door open, and unlocked the cuffs, his hands shaking. Marcus took his time rubbing his wrists, making sure Palmer saw the slow, deliberate shift in power. I made a mistake, Palmer mumbled. Marcus stood, his presence towering over the young officer. A mistake. His voice was calm, but thunder rumbled beneath it. You pulled me over without cause. You disrespected me. You threw me to the ground. Palmer stammered. It was a misunderstanding. I could have you fired by sunrise, Marcus said, his voice low. I could have your badge on my desk before you draw another breath. Palmer's face drained of color. But I won't, Marcus continued. Why? Palmer asked, confused. You're not worth ruining, Marcus said simply. Then he got in his car and drove away. Palmer stood there, frozen, watching the taillights fade into the darkness. But this wasn't over. Not even close. The fallout. By morning, the entire city was in an uproar. The news of Judge Marcus Ellison's arrest spread like wildfire. By noon, security footage from a nearby house showed Palmer yanking Marcus from the car, forcing him to the ground and cuffing him. It was damning. Inside the precinct, Palmer was confined to the station. Officers whispered as they passed. Some glared. Some shook their heads. The chief, Walter Harrington, summoned him to his office. You embarrassed this department, Harrington growled. You put us in a scandal we can't recover from. I was doing my job, Palmer insisted. That wasn't your job. You humiliated one of the most powerful men in the state. Harrington exhaled. Judge Ellison is coming in this afternoon. If he wants you gone, you're gone. The reckoning. When Marcus Ellison walked into the chief's office, the room's energy shifted. He spoke calmly, but his words carried weight. Palmer sat stiffly as Marcus stared him down. Let's talk about your future, Marcus said coldly. If you even have one. Palmer's pulse pounded. I was just. You threw me to the ground, Marcus said, his voice like steel. You handcuffed me. You humiliated me. And you never even told me why. I didn't know who you were, Palmer whispered. That tells me everything, Marcus replied. When the chief asked what Marcus wanted, he gave an answer no one expected. I don't want his badge, Marcus said. I want him to learn. He demanded Palmer spend a month working in the communities he policed. Nobody, no gun, no authority. Palmer's punishment was set. The lesson begins. Palmer, stripped of his badge, arrived at the Southview Community Center under the supervision of Terrence Miles, a former gang member turned mentor. Welcome to the real world, Terrence said. You're on janitor duty. Palmer spent his days cleaning floors, taking out trash, and facing the people he once treated like criminals. Over time, he saw the impact of his actions through their eyes. Transformation. As Palmer worked, he slowly earned trust. He played basketball with teenagers like Malik, Judge Ellison's nephew. He listened to their stories. One night, Malik showed Palmer the harsh reality of survival in their neighborhood. Palmer witnessed a drug deal, realizing the desperation behind it. Back at the center, he confessed to Marcus, I want to be better. Marcus nodded. Then start. A new beginning. 1 month later, Palmer put on his uniform again. He was no longer the same man. He walked into the precinct, no longer hiding behind his badge, but wearing it as a responsibility. That night, he returned to the community center. He wasn't there to enforce laws. He was there to listen. And for the first time, he understood.